Good afternoon and welcome back to Nurses Speak. This is Tonya of Nurses Speak, the channel for Black nurses, nurses of color, and open to all nurses. This is the channel where no topic is off limits and your voice can be heard and your comments can be shared. Just remember, this is a public platform, so don't say anything to incriminate yourself if you choose to remain incognito, that's fine. But rest assured that the information shared here is relevant and it's a call to action, basically. Now, what that action is, I can't tell you because each person has to make that decision for themselves, right? This is where we're at. We're grown-ups here, and we take accountable for what we do and what we say. So having said that, I just want to talk about a couple of instances where some nurses were recently involved in some TikTok videos. Now, TikTok is very popular with a younger generation, but more and more people are using it for all different types of purposes. Professional people are using it, entrepreneurs are using it, various organizations are using it to get their quick messages out and put it on social media. And it's used for good and it's used for things that are not so good. Some are tasteful, some can be quite disparaging. It runs the gamut of humanity, let's face it, right? However, the first instance came up, I would say about a week ago, around a week of maybe December 14th, and there were 4 nurses involved from the labor and delivery unit at Emory University, and they posted a ick video, I-C-K, ick, basically talking about the things they didn't like about specific patients that they served. Not, of course, naming them by name, but, just saying things that they didn't like. For example, patients coming to the nurse's station asking repeatedly for things or sending family members after they had been, instructed by the nurse to use the call bell. And, someone saying, oh, they're asking the nurse how much do they think their baby weighs while they're holding the baby. So I don't know. To me, it seems quite silly. That's my opinion of it, of course. But suffice it to say, what wound up happening was that those 4 nurses were ultimately terminated from Emory University Hospital. And Emory put out a statement, a PR statement, essentially, disconnecting from that, saying that that information put out on the video by those nurses is not anything that they support. They have no affiliation with that. And, they want to give their patients the utmost respect and quality of care, yada, yada, yada. So that's that. That relationship has been severed. Now, was it necessary for them to go on TikTok and put that out there? It might seem kind of humorous as, I don't know, after work, offline, chit chat among colleagues, or maybe, light banter in the break room. But let's face it, once you have your uniform on and your ID pasted on your chest and you go out there and you put something on social media, you need to come correct or don't come at all, right? So, I mean, I would just say if you're going to get fired over something, it should be over something significant and substantial that's defendable, right? That's not really defendable behavior. And quite frankly, it's a little immature to do. But this is where people are at. A lot of people are in this place right now where they feel comfortable with an anything goes attitude, and despite the fact that I promote this channel as a safe channel where no topic is off limits, essentially I mean that, right? But let's bring it forth tastefully. Let's bring it forth professionally. You don't have to put any names here. You don't have to put where you work, your first name really. You don't have to put any identifiable information unless you choose to be identified. And then, if there's any ramifications from that, then obviously you prepare to handle those consequences if there are any to be had. So that's the risk that we all take, right? And it's fine to agree to disagree, right? As long as we do so respectfully. So some people out there may think that it was a great idea what they did and they should be able to freely express themselves. After all, this is the US of A and freedom of speech prevails. Yes, it does, but it is, like in many places, not without consequences. So fast forward to today. I just saw another article where some other nurses, and this is in upstate New York, at a CPAP facility. Basically, that's a comprehensive psychiatric emergency program. I kind of had to look that up, honestly, because I didn't really remember what the acronym meant. But essentially, it's a psych ER, right? People walk in a crisis mode, and they need all levels of support. I have managed such an area for a fairly short time in my career, and I can tell you it can be a volatile space, to say the least. It can be a dangerous space. So when I saw the nurse stating in the TikTok video, and this was taken inside the facility, mind you, okay? So these nurses have clearly identified themselves. So they already have, like, we're done. We are done. We already know what the backlash could be. Well, hopefully they know. But apparently the management people that they were speaking to at the time didn't have a plan for how they were going to address this 1 to 50 nurse-patient ratio in the CPAP, or a plan going forward into the holidays for how they were going to staff this unit. And also, let me just take a little look here at the article, because I just want to give a little bit of background information. So this is Erie County Medical Center in Buffalo, right? Now they're going to be facing a state investigation as a result of what these nurses put out in this TikTok video. Can you imagine? Ooh, I would not want to be in that place right now. There's going to be some heat raining down, okay? I wouldn't be surprised if they wind up on some kind of, what do they call it? Imminent jeopardy or something of that effect. When, the state is like, okay, you guys have X amount of time, limited time to get this sorted out, or we're shutting you down. It could become that serious. And I hope not. I hope they can get it sorted out, because apparently up in that particular county, that's like the only place where people can get that level of support from a program like that. So this is really a high demand area, it's a critical need up there for mental health services and crisis intervention. So I really do hope that, they can get that all sorted out, because the community clearly needs it, right? And the staff is basically saying they currently have 12 open nursing positions. They've hired 39 CPAP nurses to date, and more nurses will soon be coming on board. They've temporarily hired travel agency nurses to fill the vacancies until the nurses that are onboarding complete their orientation. Okay, so it looks like they do have a plan. Perhaps they just failed to articulate that to the staff in a way that is appropriate right, to alleviate their fears, as well as the fact that, if you have a process to go through to onboard staff, then those contingency nurses should have been in place so that the appropriate nurse patient ratios are maintained throughout for the safety of not only the patients but the staff as well. Because, as you know, our heads don't sit on a swivel, so you can't see what's coming from behind you. Sometimes, you have to have people in their eyes open on everybody. Everybody has to have each other's back in a psych area. Okay. Security needs to be beefed up as well when you're dealing with that many people. Come on. Yes, and all hands need to be on deck. So anybody with an RN behind their name, I don't care if it's manager, supervisor, director, assistant director, executive director, CNO, everybody should be there lending their support in a situation like that. That is a crisis. Okay, yes, that is a crisis. Oh, anyway, so out of frustration, the article goes on to say, by management's lack of urgency and lack of a real plan to hire and retain the nurses we need to deliver safe patient care. This is what the nurse who is the director of the Western New York Regional Union said. This is what was told to the Buffalo News media. And they're committed to delivering safe quality care to every patient. They're sending out a SOS. We need the nurses and the resources, and we need them now. Okay, that's pretty direct. And unfortunately, it had to go public. But you know what? Sometimes that has to happen in order for wheels to turn and things to get done. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? But there's definitely going to be some fallout from this. That's for sure. And so, as I said, hopefully everything works out for them. But, what are your thoughts on this use of social media to publicize what's going on in facilities these days, and people to just, air their laundry out in the public, right? Does anybody think it could be done differently or should be done differently? Do you think that under desperate times, desperate measures are called for, and this is an act of, as they said, frustration and desperation because management has not provided any plan for resources or staffing, and it's not specified why. Why is there this lack of proper management in these places? This is the thing. But I think what's very important is that it's giving the public a very clear and concrete message that in order for them to get proper care in a facility, there needs to be adequate staff. And not just nurses, we need social workers in there. We need nursing assistants in there. We need all of our therapists in there. We need adequate amount of doctors as well, residents. These are the people that drive the healthcare system, and we work as a team. Okay, now rest assured, I'm a nurse, as you know, and so I'm a little bit biased towards nursing because I happen to know that in the absence of everybody else, the nurse is expected and called upon quite often to do just about everything that everybody else does. Clean the place, get the food, serve the food, right? Clean up, answer the phone, file things, do paperwork, go get medication from the pharmacy, bring lab specimens to the lab, run to the blood bank, get blood, bring it back, move patients around from unit to unit, handle registrations, do admissions, do discharges, do your assessments, do your notes, pick up orders, call doctors, call security, you know, intervene when there's conflict, um, you know, get linen, deliver linen, change beds. Have I missed anything? I mean, look, it is what it is, right? And so when you're stretched that thin, that you have to do all these things and please all these people, and you can't even get to your core function. Because I never would say something is outside of my scope to do it. You know, I was trained in an old school fashion. Obviously, if a patient, you know, where we would go in and do everything for that patient. Okay, you got a bath when you came into the hospital. Somebody actually washed you. Your linens were changed every day. You know, you had food, 3 meals every day. Staff made sure you ate your food. Somebody would sit down and feed you if you couldn't feed yourself. You got lotion put on your body, okay? Because it was so important, and other things like A&D ointment, you know, things that would be ensure that your skin would not break down. You know, I have personally provided care to vegetative patients whose skin did not break down. Now, sometimes they get very edematous, and you know what? The fluid forces through and it happens, right? But I mean, it was never for lack of care. Let's put it that way. And that's a whole nother program in itself, right? But I'm just saying all that to say that things have changed a lot in the hospital setting, and even in the long-term care, you know, nursing, skilled nursing facilities, which that too is another conversation, right? Because there's this whole set of drama in that environment as well that we can talk for months on end about. And but things have really changed, you know. You really have to go into the hospital these days. If you're not awake and alert and able to help yourself, you better have a family member with you or hire somebody to come in and help you, because it's not happening. You know, there's a lot of things that just won't get done. It just won't happen, right? So, actually, I was talking to a friend of mine who is also a nurse, and we had a laugh about this because she said that she was in the hospital and she was given a package of wipes, essentially to you know, wash herself, right? So there's no more towel and washcloth and basin and, you know, here's your room with your shower in there and whatnot. You get a package of wipes. And basically, you know, you just wipe in your face, your underarm, private area, whatever. You don't have to wait till you go home to get a shower, you know, or something like that, right? It really be. So things are changed. Things are really, really changed. And even with all this AI and telehealth and, you know, it's like providers, caregivers, you know, nurses, everybody else who's involved in the health of our nation is moving farther and farther away from direct hands-on care, right? So these hands are not really touching anybody anymore. So, you know, I don't know. And then on top of that, before I forget to mention, it wasn't that long ago, actually, a few days ago, I read that a man in Pennsylvania was in the waiting room, I believe, of an emergency area with someone, and was highly agitated about how long it was taking, either for information or to be seen, and decided to make a bomb threat. That's right. A bomb threat in the Hospital E emergency waiting room in Pennsylvania. I'm gonna try to find that and put a link to that too. Y'all might find those articles interesting to read. I know I do, because like I said not too long ago, it's getting to a point where even going to the hospital is not even going to be a safe situation. So, this is why I even started out this channel talking so much about self care, taking care of oneself physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, holistically taking care of yourself so that you do not find yourself in these institutions unless it's absolutely necessary for you to be in there, right? Do what you need to do to keep yourself well, keep yourself sane, have a balanced um, state, right? Maintain your equilibrium so that you can function and have some degree of longevity, because no job is worth losing your life over, because they just gonna step right over your body and keep it moving. Okay? And if you're lucky, your family will get 1 year's worth of your salary. That's typically what most places provide as insurance for a fully employed individual. And that will be that, unless you're taking care of other things on your own, right? So, I just want to leave you with that, because it's sad that it's come to this, because a lot of these issues that these nurses are talking about, these are not new things, but they're coming to the forefront because of the availability and the prevalence of social media outlets. So it's easy to put information out there, but it's not easy to rein it in once it is. So even though they might pull down a video, by the time they pull it down, it's probably had 100,000 views or something, maybe, if that much. It could be less. Even if it's several thousand, people can share it and share it and share it, right? And it just goes on from there exponentially, how many people actually do get a glimpse of it. And so all I'm saying is use wisdom in your protests, and make sure that things are done in a way that is as professional as possible, so that you don't taint your reputation or diminish your character in anything that you're going to do out there, even with good intentions, right? Even with good intentions, things need to be done in a professional way. And at some point, we could talk about how that looks like. Do you engage with an employment lawyer, right? Do you file a class action lawsuit, right? Something like that. I mean, look, what's going to happen in a place where staffing is so poor that nurses just begin to call out because they already know what they're going to face when they go to work, right? Why should a nurse have to go to work in an environment that's unsafe for themselves and for the patients, and put their safety, their life, and their license at risk? Why should they have to do that? Why should they be expected to do that? Do you know what kind of mental anguish and anxiety and stress that can bring on? That's too much. That is way too much to ask an individual to do day after day or night after night. No one should have to work under those type of conditions. And yet and still you have those people that will continue to show up until they can't no longer show up. And that's my point right there. when you don't show up, they'll find somebody. I think my very first video was about saving yourself. Nurses need to go to the bathroom. I was talking about just taking a break to go to the bathroom. And here we are a little over a year later that I've been on this channel. And not much has really changed. So I will leave you with that right now. And we're coming down to the last week or so, a little about 10 days to the end of the year, and we'll soon be in 2023. So let's think big. Let's think large. Let's think growth, expansion, progress. Let's think good things. Let's bring in some positive energy. Let's think about how we're going to put ourselves on top and make our own care a priority first. And not just once in a while, but every single day. Pledge to put yourself first. Take care of yourself first. Let those few breaths of every day that you take when you wake up, be a remembrance of the value of your own life, because you matter. Your voice matters. This is Tonya from Nurses Speak. I look forward to some time with you again very soon. But until then, happy holidays, and may you all be well. Bye now.